Good morning.
Good morning.
And welcome. Are we ready to continue the debate this morning? I ask you that question. For those of you who don't or do know me, know that I know a little bit about government, politics, and business. And so when I had the opportunity to learn more about Walter Raquet and his book through the column that he wrote for the business journals, I thought, aha, this is an opportunity to have a dialogue between government officials and Walter during a season, a campaign season, which, putting mildly, is rather unique.
We are blessed today with a wonderful, wonderful panel. Here to my far right, we have Rob at your left. We have County Executive Robert Astorino. He's been County Executive here.
Not that far right. Morning, Ann.
Morning, Rob. Thank you. He's been a county executive since 2009, re-elected 2013. Previously, he served on the Mount Pleasant Town Board and the Westchester County Board of Legislators. He's also had a long career in radio industry. And he also went to Fordham University, so he's a Ram. And so he's home here. To his left, we have Richard Brodsky. He was a member of the New York State Assembly for 28 years. He's also been a practicing attorney for 40 years. Currently, he teaches finance at NYU's Wagner School, and now he is currently of counsel at the Oxman Law Group here in White Plains. To his left, we have Walter Raquet. Walter Raquet is really kind of partly the reason why we're here, for the inspiration of the article. He used his experience as a businessman on Wall Street and whistleblower to write "Government is Killing the Economy." Today he works with the CEO of atmosair.com.
Well, thanks so much for coming this morning, and I'm honored to be here. And just wanted to say off the top here is that I have been a consultant for Mr. Raquet in the past, and so I just want to emphasize that everybody will have a fair chance to make their case here this morning. Walter, I don't know if you've had a chance to talk about your book. Give me the basic premise of what you believe is wrong with government now and what your cure is.
Sure.
Why don't you use the microphone there? Okay.
Yeah, we are overregulated. Regulation is costing us $2 trillion a year. Waste and fraud is another $1 trillion. That's $3 trillion. The government only collects $3.5 trillion in income taxes. So the burden on business is just overwhelming. And there have been numbers of studies saying that how this is just crippling the job growth. You know, basically, over the last 15 years, we've grown at 1.7% compared to 3.5% for the previous 50. And this overregulation is just going to get worse.
So what should we do? So your premise is that we have this overregulation.
Right.
What now?
What we need is a bipartisan group such as like the Grace Commission to basically make recommendations on how to make government more efficient, how to streamline regulation, how to cut out the fat and fraud in our government, and make business work like make government work like a business.
Mr. Brodsky, you spend a good deal of time in government. What's wrong with that? Companies always have outside consulting groups to come in to help them run more efficiently, more productively. What would be the problem with having a bipartisan group of business people coming in and helping?
You said two different things. First you said a commission, then you said a bipartisan group of business people. I think the business community ought to be speaking loudly and clearly about this, but they don't have a monopoly on the issue or on wisdom. Look, everyone's entitled to an ideological point of view, and the scrutiny of government activity is a good thing. And there is a anti-tax, anti-spending, anti-regulation ideology out there, which ought to be fairly considered and discussed. But we ought to, at some point, be held to our evidence. And if you just look at New York State, for example, it turns out that the high tax, high regulation, high spending areas are prospering. And the low tax, low spending, low investment, if you want to call it that, low regulation areas are on their rear end. Now, I use that as evidence that high taxes, high regulation, and high spending cause economic prosperity in a business. Now, most of you won't agree with me. But if he can get away with asserting generally that high regulation is costing business, I should have the same right. I tell you what, let's try to do this on an evidentiary basis. If there is a counter evidence to what I just gave you about New York City and the suburbs, which are the high tax and high regulation areas of the state, if there is counter evidence to that in New York State, let me know.
Okay, Mr. Astorino, where does Westchester County fall in? Are we high tax and high regulation here?
First of all, did everyone watch last night?
Yes.
How entertaining was that? 77 points between the Falcons and Saints. That's pretty cool. That's pretty good. So, unfortunately, we are the highest tax county in America with all of the government taxes combined. County taxes, which is about a fifth of someone's tax bill. School taxes, which tends to be 60 to 65%, and then your town or your village, and then your special districts like your water and sewer and all that. This is a very expensive place to live. It's a very expensive place to do business. I don't think that's a good thing, because I'll give you an example of what I use with my kids. In the summer, my kids are 13, 11, and 6, and their cousins were over. So they went outside, they did a lemonade stand. And they made about $100 that day. It's pretty good. She sent them out there every day. And so I taught them a lesson. They came inside. I said, okay, good. I said, we got $100. What's 100 divided by 4? They said, 25 each. I said, whoa, wait a minute. Now, you sat on our property, so you got to pay tax. We bought the product, and you need to pay a sales tax. I went through all the list, and so when it was over, I gave them $1 each. And you should have seen how angry they were. We worked so hard for this. Why? This is our money. I said, but now wait a minute. I know you worked hard, but I want to take that money, and I want to give it to your friend Marco up the block, who sat inside all day, and I want to give this to whatever, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to use it to buy what I want. And they finally got the message. See, they worked hard for that money, and they should keep that money, and they should be able to buy what they choose with that money. Now, some of it should come to the government so we can do what we need to do. But I think that shows the difference between where we're at today, where the government feels that it should take your money and do what it wants, versus you working hard, employing people, and making the economy go.
But isn't it in the eyes of the beholder? I mean, Walter is saying is that if there's some objectivity, some people from the outside who have no axe to grind other than to see if we can make government run more smoothly. Walter, what do you fill in the blanks from
No,
there?
I mean, you can imagine if it was Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, and a bunch of other, Larry Page, came up with recommendations to fix a specific thing, I think they would get a lot of press. I think they'd have a lot of pressure on our political leaders to get something done. I mean, we just can't let this crazy regulation just destroy the economy.
Okay, great. I'm all for those kinds of commissions. Set one up. But the notion that the system is fundamentally corrupt and conflicted, and that's why you don't look at it. That's not my experience.
I don't think the system is necessarily corrupt. It is built to be inefficient. Government feeds off itself. Government, to survive by its very nature, needs to grow. And that's what's happening. And when it grows, I ask people, what is government? It's not a building. It's not a building. Government is the money that you give, and increasingly more and more of your own money, to feed a system. It is a system built on mediocrity and inefficiency. And that's really what we have. And do we want more mediocrity, bigger inefficiencies? That's what we get when we keep the system that we have.
Sir.
Anyone want to raise your hand to see if government is helping you, doing well? 1, 2, 3. Okay. So raise your hand if you think government is in some way hurting you. Okay. So we've got to be willing to do things differently.